Brothers and my sisters out there in the world, we're going to listen to the great Claude Anderson. I respect this elder right here. He has taught me so much about our people, what we've been through, where we going. Coming back from the Sabbath weekend, I took out of it. Did y'all see my show I did about Jesus? It's serious. Coming back from the Sabbath weekend, I took back. If you want to know about the future, if you want to know what the future holds, you have to look back in the past, because the past is a mirror image of the future if you don't change. I understand, you know what I'm saying, that y'all been put in this situation to where you don't want to love your people and lift your people up and be kind to your people and be gentle. I understand. I forgive y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because these things have been done to us for centuries. I can't expect y'all overnight to jump out of this box that you've been put in to love your people. But the more me and my sisters, we enter this thought into your head, that you will grab root of this truth. Now, Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. Claude Anderson, can you please tell my brothers and sisters why you just can't crawl up, you just can't climb up, you just can't grow up and roll up your boots and tie them up by the bootstraps? Why you can't do that for? Because that's one of the things that they always told us. How do they say it? Once you pull up your boots and tie them up by the bootstrap, how they say it? Did I say it wrong? I might have said that wrong, but you get my gist. So, Dr. Claude Anderson, can you tell them why are we the way that we are?
The audacity to let black folks...
my bad. Let's go back.
They had the nerve, the audacity to let black folks suffer for 460 years. And at the end of the civil rights movement, rather than going back and saying, let's find out what has happened to black folk for 460 years. Have they been psychologically, emotionally, politically, educationally damaged? Nobody spent 1 minute of time trying to figure out what had happened to black folk over all that period of time.
You mean to tell me, Mr. Claude Anderson, that we just can't pull ourselves up by our bootstraps? It's impossible, family. It is impossible, family.
So in the course of the civil rights movement, at the end of it, they say, well, let's pretend that nothing has happened to them, that they were not injured, they were not hurt. And now let's go seek integration and pretend that we're all equal. Now, that was grossly unfair, because by that point in time, in about the 1966 period, whites had become economic giants in America. They owned...
So they became economic giants, and they still told your people, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. What's wrong, black people? You just can't pull yourselves. You can't pull yourself. You can't pull yourselves up by your bootstraps.
Control everything at that point in time. Black folk didn't own anything. Whites control almost 100% of all the wealth, the income, the privileges, the businesses, the resources, and all levels of government.
Damn, Mr. Edison, even the government, it goes back again. How can you pull yourselves up by the bootstraps? I'm gonna make a damn country song about it. Don't it sound good? Pull yourself up by the bootstrap.
Blacks had nothing. Blacks were 1-foot midgets. And they allowed us then to use integration to walk from our communities, from our ghettos over in their communities, totally disarmed, not understanding anything, blind, naked, and then saying that you can go and compete. Compete with what?
They told us that we had to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Okay, Mr. Dr. Claude Anderson, highly revered elder of ours. Dr. Claude Anderson, I don't think they getting it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they really understand. But can you tell them, Mr. Claude Anderson, can you tell them again, please tell my brothers and sisters again. Hopefully they got their ears open, their mind is on.
1940s, you did not have one single Asian or Hispanic in the entire United States. But you had 5 million black folk that were enslaved. By the Civil War, you had 6,000.
They taught us that they was fighting in the wars too. That was a lie. This man is a history giant. Giant.
1,000 Hispanics. By 1900, you had 100,000 Hispanics. You had 100,000 Hispanics in 1900, but you got 11 million blacks. They got the same identical birth rate. Here are blacks, here are Hispanics. Here are blacks, here are Hispanics. They got the same birth rate. Now they're going to pass blacks. You know why? You can't come into the country and fight and protect yourself by numbers. You are a permanent loser. You cannot win if they can't let you get your population up. And the major issue they're going to fight for is keeping the doors of immigration open so they can become the...
It's a damn shame. It's so easy out here in Chicago to get a gun license. It's super easy. Now, I told y'all, I come from a predominantly white and Hispanic town, city, whatever you want to call it. The fifth biggest city in California. And they wouldn't give me a gun permit because they know what would happen. I would not end up having to defend myself against my own people with more of them there. So they always denied me of my CCL because they were in fear that one of their people would come out of pocket and then they would be put in the ground.
Population over you. They know you cannot bring in your people. The United States has never had an immigration policy for black folk to bring in blacks because they want you to stay in a minority category and loser. In 1840...
So, Dr. Claude Anderson, can you tell us what has been going on with our people in the country?
Everybody right now is pimping and hustling black folk. They've been pimping and hustling black folk for 400 or 500 years. We spend approximately 97% to 98% of all our money outside of our own community, as an example. And we don't practice group economics. We don't practice group politics.
So, Mr. Anderson, can you please explain to my fellow brothers and sisters why we have been locked in this box and it's so hard? Okay, individually, person to person, you can make it, but as collectively, as a group, can you please explain to my brothers and sisters why our group of people just can't pull themselves all the way up from what they
use slavery to acquire almost 100% of all this nation's wealth, resource, privileges, controls of all levels of government into the hands of the white society. Racism means let nothing change that condition. That's what you're locked into. Racism means as a group.
So, Mr. Anderson, you're saying that the racism that we experience as black people, that is what is confining our people to be locked in this box? So, if there's always racism, we're always going to be at the bottom of the food chain. Is that it? Okay, this placement, Mr. Anderson, can you please explain to my
phenomenon?
brothers and my sisters?
Whites own and control practice at almost 100% of everything of value in the society. 87% is frozen. 87% of everything in society that's owned right now by whites is frozen. It is locked into their communities.
He's talking about liquid assets. That's what he's talking about, liquid assets. He's talking about money and properties that's put up, that's drawing interest, it's drawing money in, and it's there, but at the same time it's like a LLC or something. You can't really touch it, but then it's still like a CD almost. You know, with CD, it's gonna yield you some interest. But as long as that CD is in the bank, it ain't going nowhere like that. But you can still draw
locked in their businesses, locked in their culture, locked in their neighborhoods, locked in their schools, locked in their churches. 87% is frozen. You can't get it. That means that the average white child, he now has an 87% advantage over a black child. Because everything that a white child needs to be successful in this society is in his community, in his church.
They tell your people to stop playing the race card. They say that stop playing the race card. But then they still have white privilege. They have white privilege from birth. They tell our people, don't, oh my God, you're playing the race card. Oh my God, you're playing the race card. Then flip it. We sitting up over here telling them, hey, you're white. You was born white. You have privileges. What privileges do I have? You got liquid assets.
In his business, in his neighborhood, in his schools, in his family, in his culture. He can get it anytime he wants to. He inherits it. It is passed on from one generation to the next. Every child gets what he needs at birth. Now, the disadvantage for these black children.
That's why it's so hard for me to feel sorry for a poor white person. It's very, very, they lucky I believe in Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They are lucky that I believe in Jesus. Or I will not feel sorry for them at all because they've already privileged. I want my brothers and sisters to write down how racism in this country has affected you. I'll give you mine. If I was born white in this country, I would have 2 houses. I would have a boat. I would have a plane. My 401k plan would probably be sitting up at $100,000, $200,000, and I would have $500,000 in the bank from all the hard work that I have done. All my classmates, all the white people that I know, all the good stuff that they had that was just given to them, they lost it. But with white privilege, they gained it again. Due to drugs, they lost it all over again. So with the hard work that I was willing to put forth in my life, I would have had accumulated all of this different stuff. That's why it's so hard. It's so hard for me to feel sorry for white people when this country was built.
Is that you have never owned anything and never controlled anything. And what you can pass on is what you cannot inherit. If
Mr. Claude Anderson, can you please? It's been a lot of people. They've been all like, well, was it good for us to integrate into society? But at that time, y'all have to understand what was happening in the country. Dr. Claude Anderson, can you please explain to my brothers what was happening in the streets with our people
Civil rights
in the
movement? Let me show you
that's
what you lost. The number of people coming into the country, just black folk during that time, was struggling for voters' rights. They were being shot, lynched, whipped, and beaten and bombed all through the South just for the right to go to the polls and vote. You just lost your voting power in this country. The immigrants wiped out your voting power. Your whole civil rights movement was a waste of time now. Those deaths were useless, futile. When in 1970, we outnumbered Hispanics, as an example, 2-1. They have now caught you and passed you. I predicted that in my first book, Black Labor, White Wealth. They'll catch you in the year 2000. They caught you exactly in the year 2000, right on the money. They now got 42 million in the country. You got 36 million.
So once more again, to my brothers and sisters, if you want to know what the future looks like, you have to go back.
They can now outvote you on anything they want and block you on anything you want in the country. Now we got 14 to 20 million. I'm doing the civil rights movement. Let me.
Dr. Claude Anderson, the traitors that's amongst our race, our people, because we got some traitors inside of our own race that'll sell us down the damn river for all they zooms and wham-whams. Can you tell us and describe what we are supposed to call them? What is the
bad guy? See, Uncle Tom, you read that book, and most blacks, 90% of blacks never read it. They always call another black, he's an Uncle Tom, he's an Uncle Tom. He's not an Uncle Tom. If you read the book Uncle Tom was a guy who would not beat black women. Uncle Tom, that book, was a guy who would not beat other blacks to make them pick more cotton. Uncle Tom was a guy who would come in at night and take cotton out of his own bag and put it in other black folks' bags so they wouldn't get whippings at night. Uncle Tom was a guy who would not tell where black folk were hiding when they went across the river and they broke free as slaves. Uncle Tom was not the bad guy. The bad guy was Sambo. And so I'm asking you all as my brothers and sisters, please in the future don't call a black guy who you know is worthless and trifling. Don't call him an Uncle Tom. That's complimenting him. Call him his real name, what he's entitled to, and that's a Sambo. Any black person sells his own people out and will do them in, he is a Sambo.
So they not niggas. They not niggas. They Sambos. You know what I'm saying? They not. We've been calling them niggas this whole time. You old sellout nigga. Oh, you old turncoat nigga. They Sambos this whole time. They was never an Uncle Tom. Remember, Uncle Tom is the good black person. Okay, last time. I sure enjoyed you up here on the show today, Mr. Claude Anderson. But I have to ask you, as of right now of 2025, since so much has happened to kick us out because we've been exploited and excluded. We had many years to where we've been exploited. But also we've been excluded out of many government assistance programs. But okay, Mr. Anderson, that's been done to us. Can you please tell my brothers and sisters what they have to do now? Now, I'm already tell y'all, I've been on y'all for 3 years now. If you in America, you have to own something. I'm not talking about no damn car. I'm not talking about no damn clothes. I'm not talking about the extravagant, expensive things that y'all like so damn much. If you gonna be here in America, you have to own something. Dr. Claude Anderson, can you please tell them what we got to do? Because I don't think my brothers and sisters, last one, family,
I think
last
black
one.
people struggle in the system that's set up for us now. Why do you think that happens?
Because you don't own and control the land, the tools, the resources, and everything else. When land was given out in America during the slavery period, that immigration was an open policy for everybody around the world to come to this country and get resources except black folk. And during that period, first thing that George Washington said,
Mr. Anderson, I'm sorry to cut you off. Coming up in California, they taught us that they let the slaves free in 1880. Hold up, let me go back because I memorized the date when I was in California. They taught us in school that they released our grandparents, because you got to remember, the slaves are our grandparents. We're not so different removed. This ain't ancient history. This ain't days of iniquity. This ain't days of old. This is recent. The slaves were our grandparents. They taught us in California school district that they let the slaves free December 6, 1880. I moved to Chicago and they teach in their schools that they set the slaves free 1860. That's 20-something years, family. So what's so differently about California than the rest of the world? What, they don't got the same books? They don't got the same history? Or was they doing something to black people in California that they didn't do to other black people in other parts of the country? History fact. If you can ask anybody from California, they probably took it out now. But all the people my age, that's what they taught us, that they set our grandparents free December 6th, 1880 in the code.
That the wealth of this nation would be in the land. He said, I want 100,000 acres of free land. And Thomas Jefferson said, I want 100,000 acres of free land. And then after he heard that, Patrick Henry that says, give me life or give me death, he then said, I want 65,000 acres of free land. And then so consequently during the period of slavery, during that from point 1 up to 3 up to 1862.
Okay, Mr. Anderson, I got to stop you again. Family, if you travel, I have traveled through the United States of America, and all they have is all these national parks, 200, 3,000, 400, 500 acres of land that's nobody doing nothing to it. Ain't nothing. All over in the United States of America, all it is just land that nobody lives there. You know what I'm saying? So 40 acres in a mule. Have y'all ever seen my show that I did about Ans Leavenworth in California? How it was a black town, and then the white people got them up out of there. You know what I'm saying? Talk about they didn't have no water. The water was polluted. So all through all of America, it's nothing but empty spaces of land. Why was it so important not to give black people 40 acres?
This country gave away
That's the question I'm asking you.
2 billion, billion, okay, acres of free land, but it all went to whites, not to blacks. And see, and guess what? And all the land, and then the wealth of the nation was in that land, in gas, in oil, in timber, and iron, and coal, and minerals, and all that kind of stuff. Black folk couldn't get any land because the Dred Scott decision of 1857 says you have no rights to get any land. And so the liberal white congressman in the Republican Party, called the Radical Republicans, says we're going to correct that by creating a second constitution. And that's to mean from 13.
Why do you think black